What's up, people? James Blissett, professional sports bettor and founder of Lucrative MMA, which is my handicapping service where I help people make money from betting on MMA. And it's podcast time, money time. 24th episode of the Lucrative MMA Betting Podcast. We're almost at a quarter of 100, so, we're getting there. We're chugging these out. I'm a little bit more settled in my house. As you remember, last week I done the podcast one day before fight day because I was still moving into my new house. Same here, I still am moving into my new house bit by bit. My laundry, my dryer just arrived today, which is good because I've got like over a week's worth of clothing. But I'm a little bit more prepared this week. I had a little bit more time. So I've taped the whole card. I've sent out 90% of my bets to my members, and they're all on the website now. You can get that for the links in my bio. You can get instant access to all my official bets. So yeah, I'm a lot more prepared than I was last week. Let's put it that way. Still got the podcast out last week, but it's a little bit earlier in the week this time, which means we might not get as many people live because it's not, the day before fight day. There's a lot of hype there, but we'll probably get more overall views in general, or at least there's more time for you guys to place the bets and stuff like that. So as always, I'll be doing the free segments. If you haven't listened to my podcast, this is how it goes. I speak on 3 segments, right? The first segment is the most exciting fight on the card. I'm going to pick out what I think the most exciting fight on the card is, and I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to tell you who I think is going to win, and if there's any value on any of the money lines, prop bets, anything, right? I'm going to try and make money on the most exciting fight, if we can. We can't always bet on every single fight on the card, and in fact, we never really should bet on every single fight on the card, but we'll try to bet on the segments I talk about. And the second segment I talk about in all my podcasts is the most inaccurate betting line on the card. So whatever I think is an inaccurate line, a betting line that I think we can take advantage of, I'll be talking about that matchup in general, and then obviously telling you the bet at the end of that. And then I'll talk about the main event from a betting perspective, right, which is Islam Makhachev versus Bobby Green. I thought we was getting Makhachev versus Beneil Dariush. You thought we was getting Makhachev versus Beneil Dariush, but it just so happened that Dariush got an injury. He has had to pull out, and Bobby Green is stepping up on 1.5 weeks notice, 2 weeks notice, something like that. Absolute gangster, Bobby King Green. So thank you to Bobby Green keeping this event alive. We get to see one of the best lightweights, if not the best lightweight in the entire world, perform, and also Islam Makhachev perform. That was a joke. Obviously, I was talking about Makhachev, but yeah, Bobby Green is exciting guy, and thank you to Bobby Green for keeping the event alive, and thank you to Makhachev for taking a last-minute fight against a completely different style matchup. That has to be credited here. I know Bobby Green's not the level of Dariush. Bobby Green's not on Makhachev's level, in my opinion. We'll get into that in a while, but at the end of the day, 2 weeks notice. You've been training for one guy for the last 8, 12, 16 weeks, and he has to change his whole style matchup in 2 weeks. So shout out to Makhachev for even taking that fight, because there is a lot of people out there that wouldn't want to risk their spot, wouldn't want to risk that 9-fight win streak or whatever he's on to fight someone like Bobby Green. So shout out to both of them guys. And I'll get straight into the podcast. Last week was a bit frustrating. I'll touch on that now. Wasn't a good week for me. It was the worst weekend of my entire betting career. So that sucked, entire betting tracked career. I've been betting for over 10 years. So I don't know, maybe I had a worse weekend of 7 years ago, but in terms of tracked betting on MMA, which has been 3 years now, it's my worst weekend. So very frustrated about that. We had some solid underdog bets, but we had our big bets which lost us. The most inaccurate betting line on the card I spoke about last week did lose. Porter versus Badal fight doesn't go to decision. That was a real frustrating one. And then we also spoke about the most exciting fight on the card. I spoke of Benitez versus Onama. I picked Benitez there. He obviously got knocked out. But it was funny because I got lots of DMs, a lot more than I usually get, because probably we had loads of people in at that time. We had over 100 people viewing the live. So that's probably another reason. But I got lots of DMs saying people bet on Onama because of my breakdown. Even though at the end of my breakdown, I picked Benitez as the underdog, a lot of people bet on Onama because of my breakdown, because of what I said. And The fight went very close to how I said it would go. I just personally took the plus money on Benitez, and that is a long-term winning spot in general. I did have some question marks on Onama, but at the end of the day, well done to any of you who took the breakdown and bet on Onama because of it. But I did pick Benitez at the end of the day. So them two were annoying, them two segments. I did get cash. I didn't bet on this myself, but we spoke about the main event, Jamar Hill versus Johnny Walker. I predicted Jamar Hill in round 1. That was a plus 300 there. So hopefully some of you cashed on that. Plus 300, pretty juicy number. And I did get a few DMs saying thank you. People cashed on that. I didn't bet on it myself. A bit frustrated now, but it is one of them things. It is what it is. Sports betting, been in this game for over 10 years. There's going to be many more weekends where I lose. It's always frustrating when it happens, but right back on the horse this week. Already got all my bets out for UFC, so I'm ready to rock and roll, man. And sorry the intro was a little bit quick. Did want to touch on last week and did want to speak about the podcast, but I'm getting straight into it now, right? The most exciting fight on the card. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We got 20 live viewers right now. A few of you in the chat. Interact with me in the chat. I can see the chat right now, so thanks, everyone, for being here. The most exciting fight on the card, right? Most of you will probably believe, and I don't know, just tell me now in the chat what fight you think I'm going to talk about for the most exciting fight on the card. Because I have a sneaky suspicion that most people are going to say one specific fight, but it's not that fight, right? The fight I think most people think I'm going to say is the Joel Alvarez versus Armen Sarukian fight, right? But I'm not going to go on that. I'm not going to speak about that fight. I did consider it. Obviously, I do think it's going to be is an exciting fight, but I also believe that it could potentially be a quote-unquote boring fight because Sarukian has that grappling, wrestling upside, and if he does continuously take him down, Joel potentially won't sub him. If he doesn't sub him, then it's just going to be not boring, but it won't be the most exciting fight on the card, right? I see a few of you chiming in right now, and you're chiming in with some exciting fights, but my man Alex Weber has got it right. It's Rodriguez versus Petrosian. MMA Asphalt said the same thing as well. So 2 votes for this fight, and every other fight got 1 vote. So you already know, this is going to be one of the most exciting fights on the card, if not the most exciting fight on the card. We got Armen Petrosian, not to be confused with Armen Sarukian. He's a Contender Series guy. He got a very solid knockout win over undefeated Russian prospect Kolev in his fight on the Contender Series. Got signed straight away. That was a first-round knockout. I was on under 1.5 rounds there, so happy to cash that. I know a lot of people cashed Armen as a slight dog. I think it was a big dog at one point, at plus 200. Contender Series, they got bet down. I think a lot of people cashed him at like plus 120, plus 130. Shout out to anyone who did that. Was on the under 1.5 myself. Happy to cash that. So, he's a decent fighter, but he's coming in against Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop, Robama. I like Gregory Rodriguez. Honestly, he's one of my favorite fighters in MMA. He's not the best fighter in the world. He's not, he probably won't become champion, but I just love his style. He's I did a post on Twitter the other day and I said, Robama fight week, Gregory Rodriguez fight week, exquisite martial artist. And that's exactly what he is. He's an exquisite martial artist. I think I'm going to be using that word to describe a few people in the future, exquisite martial artists, because there's not that many of them, We've got fighters who are amazing at a specific martial art and they're able to win titles like that. We got fighters who blend the martial arts, but they're not very exquisite in the way they do it, all right? We got fighters that are super tough, like David Onama. So fucking tough, and that's going to win him a lot of fights, right? We got fighters that have crazy one-punch power, Francis Ngannou, and that's going to win him a lot of fights. But we don't have many exquisite martial artists. And what I mean by that is very high level in every martial art and also high level in MMA. Because we get people who are high level in most martial arts, but in MMA, they're not that good. They just don't blend the arts together for whatever reason. Someone who comes to mind is Joe Duffy. I don't know if you guys know this. I mean, I'm sure most of you will know who Joe Duffy is, but he has been out of the UFC for a couple of years now. So If you are new to the game, you might not know him. But Joe Duffy was a guy who was a great boxer, was a great jiu-jitsu fighter, was a great taekwondo fighter, had decent takedowns. He was a very good martial artist. He just couldn't put it all together in the MMA at the UFC level, right? But I would class him as an exquisite martial artist, and I class Gregory Rodriguez as an exquisite martial artist. He's a very good striker, very good boxer, very good wrestler, very good jiu-jitsu fighter. He just blends the arts so well. He's so smooth, He's a very good judoka. Like all of these martial arts, he's very high level at. When it comes to MMA, he doesn't put them all together as much as someone like Aaron Pico. I don't think the ceiling is that high. He does have some faults. The cardio and the chin is a question. But in general, he is an exquisite martial artist, right? That was my whole point. On the other hand, we got Armen Petrosyan, right? Who isn't an exquisite martial artist, but he's a very good striker. He has very good cardio, very good heart, and he's a tough motherfucker. And he's a very resilient motherfucker. And that wins you a lot of fights, man. Exactly how it won David Onama the fight against Gabriel Benitez, and how it's going to win him a lot of fights in the future, and how I've spoke about how I spoke about that aspect of MMA, the toughness and the grit and the heart and the resilience. I spoke about that aspect of MMA last week about David Onama, and it proved true in his fight against Gabriel Benitez. And Armen Petrosyan has the archetype to me, right? Now, I don't know his ceiling. I don't know how good he is gonna be. He could very well be out of the UFC in a couple of years, or he could be a decent, top 25 contender in a couple of years. I don't really know. The guy's had about 7 fights, so it's kind of hard to get a read on him at the moment. He has been knocked out cold in about 50 seconds before as well, so it's not like he's this undefeated prospect either. But what I can tell is he does have that toughness. He does have that resilience. I don't know about the chin, but he does have that resilience and that eager to win, that eagerness to win, which again goes a long way in the MMA, right? I've seen multiple of his fights where he's been taken down, controlled against the fence, constantly taken down, but he keeps getting back up to his feet, keeps working back up to his feet. His opponent gets tired, he's not tired, and then he's able to unleash his strikes, which is good, right? He does have pretty good strikes. I don't know his background in terms of if he was, he's definitely a striker before, but I don't know the level of his striking. I did see a few posts on Twitter saying that he used to be, he fought in some kickboxing organization. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know. I don't know myself. I did see a post as well. Someone said that don't confuse him with Armen Petrosyan, the kickboxer, because there is a kickboxer called Armen Petrosyan. But I actually think this Armen Petrosyan also has a kickboxing background from what I've seen, but I haven't delved into it. But what you can see, he's a good striker, right? Whether he has a background in it, he obviously has a background, but whether he has an extensive high-level background, high-ish level background, who knows? The kickboxing scene in different countries are very strange. Some are really good kickboxing. Some countries have really good kickboxing scenes, but not very good Thai boxing scenes. And then some countries have really good Thai boxing, but not really good kickboxing. And there's all different types of kickboxing. There's different rule sets and stuff. So I don't really know. But what I know is that the guy can strike, right? He's very clinical. He's very precise. His defense isn't the best, but his offense is pretty good, right? I think he can crack a lot of people on their chin. And I do think that in this fight, Gregory Rodriguez is going to have to be careful, right? Because Gregory Rodriguez, he is liable to be knocked out in any fight that he fights in the middleweight division, because his defense is pretty good, Gregory Rodriguez, right? But all it takes is one shot and he gets wobbled. And when he does get wobbled, his recoverability is not very good. Once the bells go, it is kind of the beginning and the end for Gregory Rodriguez, right? You get a lot of these fighters where, they can get knocked down. They look like they're unconscious and they get back up. Tyson Fury, for example, right? You can hit him with a sledgehammer on the head. The guy's going to do the chicken dance, fall on the floor, but then he's going to get back up. And then you've got fighters that they get touched once, they're not really coming back. And Gregory Rodriguez is a little bit more on that scale. Now, got to give RoboCop credit here. Last fight, he got cracked on the chin, almost was out, ended up knocking his opponent out, Jung Young Park. And shout out to Rod because I cashed a good bet on him there at -110. I also cashed G-Rod in his debut at +140 against Dusko. So I've bet on him in both of his fights. And he's cashed for me as an underdog and as a pick'em in both of his fights, So I got a lot of love for G-Rod. But that Jung Young Park one was a bit strange. He did get hurt badly. But then Jung Young Park kind of got very reckless, stood in front of him, started throwing shots, and then just got caught himself. And then Rodriguez, he hadn't recovered. He was still injured, So it goes back to the point I'm saying. He was still injured, whatever you want. He was still, I guess, injured, right? He was still wobbly. His faculties wasn't about him still, but he just managed to get the knockout because Jung Young Park also got cracked, right? So it's not like what I'm saying is even not true in that one fight. It still is true because, he was hurt, but he actually didn't fully recover from that, right? So, on one hand, I do give him credit because, it did look like the beginning and end, but he did come back from it. But on the other hand, I'm under no illusions that, he's fixed his chin or anything like that, or his recoverability. If the guy gets cracked and he's hurt, 9 times out of 10, he's going to get finished in that fight, right? I do think someone like Petrosian is a little bit more seasoned. It looks like from me, right? Either he's more seasoned or he's just a lot higher level. Most of the time, if someone's a lot higher level, they are more seasoned. Every now and then you get a phenom who's, he trains kickboxing for 1 year and he's better than someone who's trained for 7 years, right? But at the MMA, at the UFC level, most of the time, if someone's better than someone else at a particular skill set, they're a bit more seasoned in that skill set. They've practiced it a little bit more. When you get to the UFC level, right? If you go to a normal gym, a guy can come in and be better than someone who's been there a year, on his first day. But when you get to the UFC level, there's only a few phenoms who are better than people that have been training for longer than them, right? So it looks like Petrosian is a lot more seasoned than Jung Young Park on the feet for sure. If not, he's just higher level, right? So I do think if he hurts Gregory Rodriguez, then it could be night-night for Gregory Rodriguez. I don't think Gregory is going to be able to recover from that. But on the same token, I think Arman can be knocked out in this fight as well. I do think Gregory Rodriguez can knock him out on the feet. Gregory has some very heavy hands. Gregory has a great jab. He has a great 1-2. And he has great hooks. So, there's a high probability that Gregory Rodriguez knocks out Arman Petrosian in this fight, honestly. So it is kind of hard for me to pick a winner. I will touch on the grappling, all right? Because in every one of Arman Petrosian's fights, his opponent tries to grapple him because he is a good striker, right? So I do think that if Gregory Rodriguez is smart, he will come out with a grappling game plan here. Now, the caveat to that is if he does that, he may gas out, right? I've seen him gas out in fights before. And as you know, if you push a grappling pace, it tires you out more than any other thing in MMA, even fighting backwards, right? So it's a catch-22 there. On one hand, you want to go out and take this dude down because he's fairly easy to take down. Not easy to hold down, but he's fairly easy to take down. And Gregory Rodriguez, as I said, he's an exquisite martial artist, which means he's a good jiu-jitsu player. I don't think he's the best jiu-jitsu player of all time. I don't think he's this super high-level black belt, but he is a black belt. He's got great back takes. He's got really good controls and transitions. And he's a very, very solid jiu-jitsu player. Much, much higher level than Petrosian, right? So I do think Rodriguez should pursue the takedowns here. If it turns out that after 2 takedowns, roughly 2-3 takedowns, that RoboCop for some reason cannot take the back, he cannot control Petrosian on the ground, Petrosian keeps getting up, then I would say just relax on the takedowns for now. Don't keep spamming takedowns because you're probably going to get tired and you probably will get knocked out in the 2nd or 3rd round, right? But I would say come out of a grappling game plan and just play it by ear. See how Petrosian defends the takedowns, if he can defend your back take, if he can defend your submission, if you can't submit him, then play the range game a little bit, try to be safe, take in some of that CO2, take in some of that oxygen, get your lungs back, and then, push some more grappling, maybe in end of round 2 or something like that, right? That would be my game plan if I was Gregory Rodriguez's manager. Now, I'm not, right? Or his trainer. I'm not. So who the fuck knows what game plan he's going to come in with? Gregory Rodriguez loves striking, right? We don't often see him pursue grappling. Honestly, the times where I've seen him take people down, it's not even like he has shot a few times. Yes, he took Dusko down, beautiful double leg. I'm not saying he's never shot a takedown in his life. What I'm saying is what I see from him most of the time, if he's the one going for takedowns, it's because the takedowns were forced. It's because there's a clinch position and he loves that judo hip toss. It's more of he goes with the flow of the fight and takes you down because the flow of the fight lends itself to the grappling, as opposed to he's going to come out there and look to grapple, right? I think he should switch that up a little bit in this fight, because I don't think Petrosian's going to want any of the grappling. I think Petrosian's going to keep at range as much as possible. So it's going to be up to Gregory Rodriguez to take it to Petrosian, close distance carefully, because we know about Gregory's chin. It's not the best, as I've spoke of. Close distance carefully, push the grappling, and look for the submission. Because honestly, I think Gregory is very live for the submission in this fight. As I said, the levels in the black belt, the levels in the jiu-jitsu are here for Gregory and here for Petrosian. So I do think that Gregory is live for the knockout, as I said, and the submission, as I've just said. But if it's on the feet, I honestly can see Petrosian knocking Rodriguez out. Because of the level of the competition gap, because of the more well-rounded skill set, I have to go with Gregory Rodriguez to win this fight. And that's it. I think I broke the fight down, as good as I'm ever going to do it. So I'm going to say Gregory Rodriguez takes this fight. But I don't love a money line. The under is set at 1.5 at the moment. Don't hate the under. Don't like playing 1.5s unless they're complete murderous fighters who always go under 1.5 if it's not heavyweight. So the 1.5 is a little bit scary. Much prefer the under 2.5, but then you're not getting the minus 110 or whatever you're getting for the 1.5. This is all off the top of my head. I don't know. You're getting like a minus 250, So you can't play it as much as you would play the under 1.5, just in terms of the lines anyway. But look, I like that. I like the under 2.5. I like that doesn't go to decision. I don't think this one sees the scorecards at all. I'm going to go with Rodriguez, which means I'm going to go with Rodriguez to find a stoppage here. But I wouldn't be surprised if Arman comes out with that knockout. Arman Petrosian via knockout at plus 200 also holds some value there for me as well. So, I mean, Rodriguez knockout, Rodriguez sub and Arman knockout is probably the way I would lean this fight. Although, again, as I say, I do think the Rodriguez knockout is also live. So, I mean, just a finish in general is live for this one. And that's it, guys. Rodriguez to win inside the distance is my final prediction. And we can move on to the next segment. The next segment we have is the most inaccurate betting line on the card. This is a tough one, I mean, look, last week I gave a minus 200 bet, right? Minus 220 or whatever it was. Porter versus Bordeaux doesn't go to decision. That one loses. The week before, I give Andrei Arlovski by points plus 140, and that wins. The week before, I gave a plus money again, and that wins. So, I mean, it's funny. Like, I give in these plus money shots, and they're winning. And then I give this minus 200 as the most inaccurate, and then it loses. So, hopefully we can bounce back here for the podcast listeners. I'm always trying to give you winners. Trying to give you value, but also trying to give you winners. I'm going to go with another plus money underdog here. I'm going to go with a money line play, and it's Zhu Rong. It's Zhu Rong, the 21-year-old Zhu Rong. 22 he might be now. I don't know. He was 21 when I was taping his fight, so I don't know if he's turned 22 in that time. I'm lazy. I do know. I can just check right now. No, he's still 21. The guy was born in 2000. Doesn't look at it. I mean, his face looks like he's about 50 years old, honestly. Shout out to Zhu Rong, but yeah, I mean, the guy's apparently 21 years old, was born in 2000, which is, absolute insanity to be in the UFC at this age. I think he's the youngest fighter in the UFC roster. So, I mean, big respect to him. And he's a plus 180 dog against Ignacio Bahamondes. And I do think that line holds some value. Honestly, plus 180 it's enough for me to take a poke. It's enough for me to take a bite, take a nibble, take a sprinkle, whatever you want to say. It's enough for me to place a bet on his money line at plus 180, right? You can actually get it for better than plus 180 in some places. I'll just check on fightodds.io right now. Shout out to fightodds.io because they are the best place to watch, to look at betting odds. You know, we did use best fight odds, but I mean, they're absolutely terrible over the last, well, in 2022, they've been really bad. So I urge everybody to go and support and use fightodds.io because they always have the fights updated. The lines are the most updated. So shout out to Fight Odds. Just wanted to give them a big shout out there. I know my man Sean Orr gave them a shout out on Twitter. Everybody go follow him if you haven't. Very funny guy, sharp guy as well. He was shouting at Fight Odds, so I feel like it's my duty to do the same. I am on the handicapper page of Fight Odds.io as well, so shout out to them in, for everything. But yeah, I'm just going to go to Fight Odds.io now, and I want to check his line. Zhu Rong. Yeah, plus one. He can be had for plus 186. And actually, the line has changed since I sent it out to my members. He's actually plus 175 in the book that I was looking at. But he's still plus 180 in many places. Actually, he's plus 180 in most places. MyBookie, BetUS, BetOnline, 5 Dimes, all have him at plus 180. Sportbet plus 186. FanDuel plus 185. Worst price, worst price is plus 159 as Sportsbet. But yeah, you get my point. There's a plus 180 dog average odds. And I just think that holds some value because I do rate Bahamondes, but I do think he's being a little bit overrated by the markets because of his amazing wheel kick knockout last time out against Roosevelt Roberts. That was one of the best knockouts in UFC history, but it was one of the best knockouts of 2021 for sure. And so I think he might be getting a little bit overrated, because of that. Now, do I think he's going to win the fight? I don't know, man. I do favor Bahamondes maybe slightly just because of the volume, because I do think he's going to have quite a bit more volume. I do think he has a more broader skill set in terms of the striking, so he has more chance for volume. If someone throws more volume than someone else, but that someone else has a more diverse attack, then they could actually land more volume. If you've got if you've got someone like Bobby Green, for example, right, who generally throws, more volume than one of his opponents, but his opponent is a very seasoned Muay Thai and karate striker. They have jump kicks, they have flying knees, they have head kicks, they have spinning kicks. Then Bobby Green may not be the volume striker in that specific matchup, right? Because he's only got one tool, which is the boxing. Obviously, he throws other strikes. So, that's kind of similar to what I'm thinking this matchup. So Bahamondes, he has a more diverse striking arsenal. So he'll throw spin kicks, he'll throw knees, he'll throw front kicks, throw leg kicks, body kicks, head kicks, punches, and he'll mix them in a lot, right? So I kind of favor him on volume, but I favor Zhu Rong to have big moments in the fight. I favor Zhu Rong's power a lot more. And I favor the optics to favor Zhu Rong in this fight because every fight I've seen of Bahamondes, not every fight, but a lot of fights I've seen of him, the dude is a bloody mess. Even when he's winning, his face is, dripping with blood everywhere. So that impacts the judges, whether it should or not, it does. If it's a close fight, back and forth fight, and it's hard to pick a winner, one fighter is completely fine, and the other fighter has a black eye, he's got a lump there, bleeding all over his face. Most likely, he's going to lose the fight, the one who's bleeding. So I do think the optics could favor Zhu Rong, not only because of the blood and stuff, but because of the power. That's the main reason, honestly. I think Zhu Rong has a chance to land. Bahamondes' strike and defense isn't very good. I do think Zhu Rong will land punches here. And Zhu Rong is a heavy hitter. He's definitely a heavy hitter. So, I favor him on that. And right now I'm trying to make a case for Zhu Rong, right? Because I'm giving him as an underdog bet here. Most inaccurate line, right? So I'm trying to make a case for Zhu Rong. So the power, the optics, the blood optics, and the grappling. I know Bahamondes has shown great takedown defense, But I still think he can be taken down by Zhu Rong. Will he get taken down by Zhu Rong? I don't know. Will he be taken down consistently by Zhu Rong? I don't know. Will he be controlled if he gets taken down? I don't know. But what I know is that Zhu Rong will go to his grappling at some point in this fight. He will shoot takedowns. And yeah, Bahamondes has 100% takedown defense. He defended 12 takedowns from Roosevelt Roberts. And he defended more takedowns on his Contender Series fight. He's 100% takedown defense. People have tried to shoot on him like 15, 20 times. He's never been taken down in the UFC. But he has been taken down on a regional scene. And I think he can be taken down against Zhu Rong, right? So I favor Zhu Rong on the power. Probably the optics. Maybe not the optics because the volume could cancel it out. But at least the power and big moment optics, the blood optics, the power in general. And also the... what did I just say? My mind just went blank. Also the grappling, right? I favor him there as well. So that's enough favoring for me to take a shot on Zhu Rong here. So that's all I've really got to say on this fight, man. I don't have too much else to say. I feel like I've got a good read on Zhu Rong because he came in as a minus 250 favorite against Rodrigo Vargas in his UFC debut. And I played Rodrigo Vargas at plus 200 and we cashed that bet. And I actually gave that bet out as the most inaccurate betting line on the card on this podcast. Episode, I don't know what it was, 10 or something, right? And I gave this out at plus 200. So hopefully I can, return the favor sort of to Zhu Rong and give, or it's just a bit ironic, give Zhu Rong out as a plus 180 dog and hopefully we cash that this time out. We cashed against him 2 fights ago on this podcast. Hopefully we're going to cash with him this time. So I feel like I've got a good read on Zhu Rong. It's not like I'm in love with the fight or anything like that. Bet against him as a plus minus 250 favorite. We also bet Rodrigo Vargas via decision at like plus 450, which we also cashed. And I also gave that out on this podcast. So if you're long-time listeners, I'm actually interested to see if anybody in now, we've got 45 people watching live now, 43 people watching live. I don't know if you guys are new listeners or you've been listening to me for a while, but if you have been listening from day one, do you remember cashing with me on Rodrigo Vargas moneyline plus 200? I gave it out on like the 10th episode of this podcast, wherever it was. It was a long time ago now, but I'll be curious to see if anybody cashed on that with me because obviously a lot of people cashed on it. I got a few messages, I'm pretty sure, saying thanks for the pick, as I always do if a bet cashes. But yeah, it'd just be interested to see if anyone who is watching live now was also watching live then and cashed with me. But anyway, that's the bet, guys. Zhu Rong plus 180. I think that holds some value. Whether he wins or not, I don't know. But I definitely think there's a lot of aspects of MMA which he can win. And he's extremely live to win the fight here for me. And I just will give a small shout out to his submission line, which is like plus 1,500, plus 1,400 right now. Not going to go heavy on it at all, but it's just worth looking into because I do think that he'll go for some takedowns here, right? I don't think he's going to submit Bahamondes, but I also don't really think it should be plus 1,400. So I'll be playing Zhu Rong via submission at plus 1,400, plus 1,500. Obviously, it's a huge prop odds long shot, but I think it holds some value. So I'll definitely be playing that. And I'll be playing his money line Zhu Rong at plus 180 as well. And that's it. The next fight on the card is the main event, right? Islam Makhachev versus Bobby Green. The main event of the evening. This is an absolute banger of a fight because we got one of the best fighters in the world and we've got Islam Makhachev. I can't wait for this fight. One of the best fighters at lightweight, Islam Makhachev, and Bobby Green, who's always a fan favorite, always comes to fight, never in a boring fight. And I don't think this is going to be any different, I don't think this is going to be a boring fight. A lot of Makhachev fights could be considered boring. I don't really consider them boring at all because I just love the way he decimates opponent, breaks them down brick by brick. You'll never really see me moaning about fights that much. Very rarely do I moan about fights. I love technical MMA. I love technical striking. I love technical jiu-jitsu. Fighters calling that Nick Maximov versus Soriano fight boring. maybe I'm biased because I had a bet on Maximov plus 165 and I had a bet on his decision line plus 350. But I didn't think it was boring. It was interesting for me to see someone consistently grapple like that, single leg. Like Soriano couldn't defend it. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm different from a lot of people, but I honestly like to see evolution of all types of MMA. I like to see all types of MMA. There are a few fights that are just literally boring, of course, but for me, it's rare. So Makhachev fights are not boring for me. You won't hear me say that unless a fight legitimately is boring. But I think Bobby Green's going to make it probably one of his most exciting fights, one of Makhachev's most exciting fights, because Bobby Green is an exciting fighter, right? He's going to walk forward. He's going to throw strikes. He's going to shoulder roll. He's going to be speaking to Makhachev. He's going to hype up the crowd before he walks out, and he's going to hype up the crowd when he's in the octagon. I've got a bit of a bombshell, right, to drop on this fight because everyone's been speaking about Bobby Green is hella value and all of this. Bobby Green's going to beat Makhachev, whatnot. It's not a hot take to say Makhachev's going to beat Bobby Green. It's not even a hot take to say Makhachev's going to dominate Bobby Green, but this might be a hot take, right? Makhachev can win the stand-up against Bobby Green. Makhachev can outstrike Bobby Green. Makhachev can outmaneuver and outwit Bobby Green on the feet. I believe that. I think his range control is very high level, Islam Makhachev. I think his range control is very, very good. Very underrated. I think that's the best part of his striking. I think it's his range control. He's got really good range control. I kind of want to speak about it a little bit more, but there's nothing else I can say other than he's got really good range control. He'll throw solid head kicks. He's a much better striker than Khabib in every way imaginable. We compare him to Khabib a lot because obviously best friends, close training partners. Khabib's always talking him up. Khabib has been talking him up for years and years. Look, I think the fight is one-way traffic, really. I mean, Bobby Green might hit Makhachev in the face a couple of times, but I don't have a hot take on this one, guys. I do think Makhachev's, easily gonna beat Bobby Green, really. I think he's gonna take him down. Look, maybe Bobby Green looks like kind of value if Makhachev's, if he takes Makhachev into like the fourth round and it's a fight where Bobby Green defends some takedowns, maybe even reverse his position for like half a second on Makhachev once, like Sarukian did, maybe he's able to hit a sweep or something like that. And everyone's like, oh, wow, look what Bobby Green done. But I think it's going to look like illusion of value. If it does look like value, which I don't think it probably will, I think it's going to look like, I think it will be illusion of value. I speak about illusion of value quite often and won't get into that now, but it's just like when a fighter looks like value, but he's just not, like Roxanne Modafferi versus Casey O'Neill last time out. She wasn't value. People who bet her will scream from the hilltop that she was value because it was a split decision, one of the worst scorecards ever, by the way. Not ever, but absolutely egregious, disgusting scorecard, as we got a few of them on that card. But yeah, Roxanne Modafferi, plus 300, whatever. Illusion of value against Casey O'Neill, in my opinion. Casey O'Neill wins that fight 9 times out of 10. Casey O'Neill, true odds, minus 900. Minus 800, minus 900, in my opinion, in that spot. But Roxanne Modafferi, illusion of value at plus 300. Anyway, I think that's what Bobby Green may look like in this fight. He may look like illusion of value at plus 500 or whatever. Look, plus 600, Bobby Green, is it worth a nibble? I don't know, man. Maybe. Maybe. But how many times does he win the fight against Makhachev? Because that's really what we just have to say, right? How many times does he win the fight against Makhachev? Does he beat Makhachev 2 out of 10 times? That's a lot. 20% of the time he wins? Really? Do you think it's closer to 10% than 20%? I do, probably, honestly. I mean, 20% is still a decent chunk, right? Of like at a time when he wins. Because people say like, oh, how many times out of 10? Yeah, he can do it 2 times out of 10. He'll do it once out of 10. He can squeak another one. But you have to think about it over, 100 times out of, how many times out of 100? Does he really win that fight 20 times? I don't know. I don't see it. I think maybe 15 times out of 100, maybe 1.5 times out of 10. Honestly, I don't think he wins it 2 out of 10. 2 out of 10 is too much for me. So let's say he wins it, and this is just speaking about purely value, right? Purely mathematics, sports betting, read the rule book, whatever value, right? Let's say he wins it 1.5 times out of 10, because I don't want to say he wins it 2 times, because I don't think he does. I will give him 1 time out of 10, just about. Maybe he catches some, knockout. But man, even 1 time is a bit of a stretch, man. Like a whole 1 time. Like if they fight 10 times, 1 time, maybe he wins 1 out of 15. Maybe it's not 1 out of 10. But let me just say 1.5, just to be really conservative and give Bobby Green all his props. He's going up a weight class. Well, he fought Hack Perez. No, he's not going up a weight class. Sorry. Went up a weight class about fucking 7 years ago, or whatever it was. All right. So let me check this. Oh, well, my phone's not functioning properly, that app. But anyway, what I was trying to say is that even if Bobby Green wins it 1 time out of 10, there's still no value on his line, right? If he wins it 1.5 times out of 10, there's still no value on his line. The line's about accurate where it is, off the top of my head. So I don't think there's much value on Bobby Green. Shout out to anyone taking a shot on him. Anyone taking a shot like a plus 600, I always, wish them luck. But I'm just going to round this off because I've been rambling a little bit now. But I just think Makhachev's going to win the fight. Yeah. How does he win it? He'll probably win it by submission. I do think he'll eventually submit Bobby Green there. Bobby Green's, decent wrestler. But he's been taken down multiple times in his UFC career. Many, many times I've seen him taken down. He's been taken down loads. And he's been taken down against the fence loads. He's been taken down, he's been slammed before. I've seen people pass his guard. He does do very good at getting back up. He hasn't got the best takedown defense, the first level takedown defense in terms of like if he can actually stuff the takedown. But he does very good at getting back up to his feet, similar to Armen Petrosian in the fact that, he can easily be, not easily, but fairly easily be taken down. But he does very well getting back to his feet. So I do think he can drag it out a little bit. But I don't know, man. 2nd, 3rd round submission for Makhachev, in my opinion. I know some people taking Makhachev via decision. I don't think it's going to go 5 rounds. I don't think Bobby Green will be able to stay positionally sound for 5 rounds against someone like Makhachev. I just don't. So I'm calling a Makhachev submission. So that's it, guys. Podcast done. I'm going to wrap up and I'll just go over, recap what we've spoke on today. Thank you, everyone that is still here. If you haven't already, please give the video a like. I always forget to say that. But apparently it makes the video grow like every other YouTuber says. So let's just believe them. Please give it a like. And if you would give it a comment, not in the live chat, but like after, the comment helps the video grow more than the algorithm. The algorithm values comments more than likes, I think. I'm not sure. Likes very easy. If you could give it a comment, just say anything. Emoji, thumbs up. You can even say, James, you're an idiot if you want. Whatever. But I would actually like to hear, if your opinions differ from me or if you agree with me as well, genuinely. If you look on all my YouTube videos, I reply to most comments, 90% of comments, unless I don't see it, I reply. So I do like reading the YouTube comments and replying back. But yeah, just to recap on the podcast, the most exciting fight on the card we spoke on was Gregory Rodriguez versus Armen Petrosian. And I predicted a Gregory Rodriguez to win inside the distance. And I said the best way to play that, if you're on the Petrosian side, plus 200 KO. I do like the under 2.5. I love under 1.5, bit iffy, but I actually do think it cashes the under 1.5. I am predicting the under 1.5. And then the most inaccurate betting on the card, I said Zurong at plus 180 holds some value. A little sprinkle on the submission at plus 1,400, plus 1,500, because we always want to cash them. Massive plays. And in the main event, Islam Makhachev, I believe he's going to get submission 2nd, 3rd round or something like that. So end of 2nd, early 3rd, end of 3rd, something like that. So that's it, guys. Thanks everybody for being here. Superlook is asking me, do you see any value on Islam sub at plus 110? Yeah, probably. Probably. Maybe more like a minus 150 for me. Maybe more like a 60% outcome for me. So that's it. Yeah, so thank you for listening. I'll be back again, as always. If you want to get all my official picks, you can go to the link in the bio or just go to lucrativemmabetting.com. We're up like 275 units since I started tracking October 2019. I'm up loads more units for my whole life before that. Not my whole life. I lost for like the first 5 years of my life, but before I started tracking. So I've been in this game forever. I'm a lifelong gambler. I grew up in the sports betting industry. Just have to ride out the variance, ride out the loss periods. Lucky for us, we don't have too many loss periods. Mainly we have win periods. So it's a lot easier to ride out them loss periods. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. And hopefully I help you make some money. And I'll be back again on YouTube, Instagram, or Twitter. Take care. Good luck on your bet.